So I'm halfway through Arthur Sean Ego's video. He's bringing up some interesting points. It's even some of the points that I made in my video that I just uploaded just a few moments ago. And I didn't even get to look at the entire video he was making. So like when you think of birds, right? Because he mentioned space was, infinite. When you look at birds, right, and you notice that, it may be a funeral or something like that. Like these birds, they fly this direction. They come and land on a tree branch. They leave that tree branch, land on the ground and start walking. They jump from the tree branch to the ground and end up on a gate. Like you got to think these birds, like how they able to propel. Also, you got to think about like the birds, right? They're charting. They're basically charting these skies. They're charting. So you got to think like, is someone making them do this? Or is it like, because I noticed like Thoth, and you think of like all the deities that were in ancient Egypt, even some animal like, right? Which is related to bestiality. When you look at how all these animals, all these amphibians and, all these mammals, all these, these rodents and stuff like that, they all chart. They're some of the most disciplined living beings on this planet, right? You see a rat, right? He's doing something constantly. You see a mouse, he's doing something constantly. You see a moose, it's doing something constantly, right? You see a horse, it's doing something constantly, right? And also horses, right? They take on the baggages of other people, right? People who can't get from A to B, they'll gallop them. You know what I mean? So you see that, even when me having a horse's mutation, I see that in the actions that I consider, right? I'm always trying to help in whatever capacity that I can. But again, like you see everything that lives, right? With the exception of humans, everything charts. Humans, with the exception of a few, right? And these are people who are in extreme power, the people who are in the church. The people who are in the church, they are some of the most disciplined people ever. Like Muslims, they're crazily, insanely disciplined. So like you see like a bird is charting, it's flying from here, it's flying in there. I see it every day. They're flying, they're chirping, they're talking. They're not attacking. They never attack other birds. They never attack other birds. That's like the number one discipline that I see in birds. If you see a blue jay and you see a cardinal, they're not going to attack one another. Especially in front of people, they're not going to attack each other. When you see a planet is in a certain constellation and you see a bird, because I have a video up of this, right? It was from almost like a year ago, where two birds are fighting in the front yard. They're fighting. They're rolling in the grass fighting. And, they're showing you, right? Not only do they attack their own, but, you see that, the planets, right, there are aligning. They're making them do this. Like Mercury, for example. Mercury is the planet of murder. Then you got Pluto, it's the planet of war. Then you got Neptune, it's the planet of sound. Then you got Zeus, who is the deity that represents Jesus in Greek culture, right? He makes the thunder come. He makes the thunder roll. He makes the thunder sound, So like when you see all these things and then you start to see, here comes a god, like you see a bird fighting and all of a sudden it start raining. That's Zeus, and if you see a person who is driving down the street blasting Kevin Gates, then right, that's Apollo. He's moved by the god of Apollo. Apollo is controlling him. So if he does something he's not supposed to do, then you attribute that to Nike, right? The goddess of victory. Say if a person, does something they're not supposed to do, that's Nike. That's the goddess of victory. So you got all these guys, right? And whenever you see something happen that you didn't expect to happen, all you have to do is look at the time and look at the clock and look at the calendar. Oh, it's 6:28. Oh, I need to go look up what Exodus, 6:28 says, or Revelation 6:28. I need to go look at that. I need to go look at what the Quran 6:28 says. And you're going to notice that it's completely moved by what happened in that time, in that matter, right? What actually happened at that time, or on that day, right? You look at a calendar date, right? Just say, for instance, Genesis 2:4. Just take for instance, right? Exodus 20:12, right? All you have to do is look that up, on the time clock. It's that exactly what's happening right then. You got to notice that it's people who are complete heretics in a responsible way. It's people who are complete heretics. And they look at the clock every second and they look up verses in the Bible. I know priests do it. You have to know priests do it because they follow astronomy. So when he says, the planet is infinite, I completely agree with them, right? I completely agree with them. Nothing is by accident. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. Everything. So take that, be gracious with it, try to understand it. I'll blast back. Great peace, Yakoki, Abayani.